If you're on mouse and keyboard in Black Ops 7 and you feel like controller players are demolishing you, then this video is for you. No gimmicks, no fake pro secrets, just what actually works. So with that said, we are going to be covering how to find your best sensitivity, best mouse settings, omni movement, wall jumping, slides, best video settings, best attachments, best perks, and hopefully by the end of this video, you will have the knowledge to perform at your best in Black Ops 7. Firstly, I want to make something very clear. Stop blaming the input every time you die. Yes, controller is strong, but MNK can still dominate in some scenarios. For example, take this guy called Metaphor. He's an MNK player and is pretty much like the gold standard of being the best MNK player on Black Ops 7. And he's MNK and #1 on Warzone, so that's a good example that MNK can do very well in this game. At the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, it's not always your input, it's your mechanics, decision making, and awareness. If you're swinging bad angles, your input won't save you. If you're swinging into pre-aims, your input won't save you. If you're fighting multiple people head on, your input won't save you. Positioning, mechanics, and timing will almost always be the deciding factor on you winning the gunfight. Sensitivity. Now let's talk about sensitivity and DPI. Best advice I can give you is to use what is comfortable to you. Everyone is different, and sensitivity and DPI is not a one size fits all. Use what feels most natural to you. Now let's talk about DPI specifically. What is DPI? DPI, also known as dots per inch, is how sensitive your mouse hardware is. Example, if your mouse is set at 400 DPI, this means your cursor moves 400 pixels on the desktop screen when you physically move your mouse 1 inch on the mousepad. Same thing for 800 DPI. 800 DPI equals 800 pixels on the desktop screen for 1 inch of physical movement on the mousepad. So essentially, higher DPI equal less physical movement, lower DPI equal more physical movement. Think of DPI as the engine power of your mouse. However, with that said, I would like to say, while DPIs are important, they are not as important as your actual in-game sense. However, it is still important to use a DPI you feel comfortable with. One of the best ways to do this is to go on your desktop and experiment with different DPIs, and whichever one feels the best to you, use that one. For example, I use 800 DPI, and to me, this feels the most natural to me. The most common DPI values are 400 DPI, 800 DPI, 1600 DPI, and finally 3200 DPI. Honestly, you don't need to go higher or lower than any of those. Those work just fine. Now let's talk about in-game sensitivities. Specifically, in-game sensitivity is a software multiplier applied on top of DPI. In-game sensitivities are very important because it is essentially one of the most significant components that will affect how your mouse feels, behaves, and reacts to your input in-game. My advice for sensitivities would go from a range of 25 cm per 360 to 40 cm per 360. In my opinion, this is genuinely a safe sensitivity range, as it is not too fast as well as not too slow. This allows for balance and versatility in gunfights. If your sense is too slow, close range tracking is hindered. If your sense is too fast, long range tracking is hindered. But with a sensitivity that can be both good in those scenarios, that sense will make you the most versatile. And versatility is the key in Black Ops 7 due to the amount of centering and tracking that is sometimes required in both multiplayer and Warzone. That is why I've personally recommended this range. However, at the end of the day, sensitivity is still personal preference. So I encourage you to try different sensitivities in this range, and if you find one that works for you, stick to it. Here are some common sensitivities for MNK on Black Ops 7. 400 DPI at 6.5 cents, 40 cm per 360. 800 DPI 4 cents, 35 cm per 360. 1600 DPI 2.25 cents, 30 centimeters per 360. 3200 DPI 1.35 cents, 25 centimeters per 360s. Now let's move on. Best mouse settings. This is the sauce, guys. This is a secret. This is gonna turn you into a pro overnight. No, it's not really that, but you should have this optimized for your preference specific. And I will start by explaining how to do that. Firstly, we have to touch on something called mouse acceleration, specifically Windows mouse acceleration. What is mouse acceleration? Mouse acceleration means your cursor moves farther depending on how fast you move your mouse. Move slowly, small movement. Move fast, exaggerated movement. That destroys consistency in FPS games because the muscle memory relies on fixed distance. distance, and fixed distance equals fixed rotation. That's why mouse acceleration is bad. It completely bypasses and overrides the ability for muscle memory to be properly developed. In competitive shooters like Black Ops 7, your 5cm flick must always equal the same in-game rotation. Your muscle memory must stay consistent. Acceleration breaks that. How to turn it off? Press the Windows key, mouse, go to pointer options, set pointer speed to 6 out of 11 if it is not done so already. Uncheck enhance pointer precision, click apply, never touch it again. Now onto ADS mouse sensitivity scalers. This is a setting within the game itself. In COD, there are two scalers. They are relative and legacy. Relative and legacy controls how your ADS aim down sight, sensitivity behave. Relative scales your ADS sensitivity based on your FOV. Legacy uses old scaling that doesn't adapt properly to high FOV values. This is the old scaling method that was used in games as far back as Black Ops 4 as well as the ones before that title. In short, use relative as it is much more simpler to use and feels the most natural to use. It gives the most one-to-one feeling when going from hipfire to ADS. That said, legacy can be very good if you want that old legacy feel and you've been playing since old COD times. Just know legacy takes a lot more setting up to do to fine tune it to make it optimal. Let's now talk about ADS FOV scaling types. There are two types, affected and independent. Affected means your ADS FOV scales with your normal FOV. Independent zooms differently and changes perceived sensitivity. Why it matters? Affected keeps visual recoil consistent, tracking feels consistent, muscle memory feels consistent. Independent can make your ADS feel slower or weird. Simply just use affected as it gives the benefits of extra peripheral vision, while in ADS, less perceived visual recoil and having one-to-one input when transitioning from hipfire to ADS. Polling rate. What is polling rate? Polling rate equals how often your mouse updates the position to your PC. Example, 125 Hz, 125 times per millisecond. 500 Hz, 500 times per millisecond. 1000 Hz, 1000 times per millisecond. Higher equal lower input delay plus smoother tracking. Mice can get up to 8000 Hz now, but there's a trade-off with 8000 Hz. Well, there's two in my opinion. One, it's not that noticeable, and two, you could actually get worse performance on both your mouse and your PC, because if your PC is not strong enough to handle 8000 Hz, then you introduce weird micro stutters and frame drops. This is because the mouse has to be updated 8 times faster than 1000, which is the normal standard, I would say, and this causes strain on the USB. In simple terms, if you have a good PC, use 8000 Hz. If you don't and you are getting weird stutters and frame drops, drop it below that 4K or 2K or 1K. My opinion is the 1K, and if you have to lose 1K, you're fine. You're not missing out on anything. 8000 Hz is not game breaking, it's just a nice to have. Now we will talk about how to use movement. Movement is an extremely essential part of Black Ops 7 mechanics and is just as important as aim in many ways. In Black Ops 7, the movement system is known as the Omni movement system. What it is, Omni movement lets you sprint, slide, and dive in any direction. How to do it? Side sprint. Hold A plus sprint, sprint left. D plus sprint, sprint right. S plus sprint, sprint backwards. No need to turn your camera. Directional slide. Hold the direction before pressing slide. A plus slide, slide left. D plus slide, slide right. S plus slide, slide backwards. W plus D plus slide, diagonal slide. Direction key first, then slide. Wall jump. This is a new movement mechanic that has been introduced into Black Ops 7. This is one of the most important mechanics to master, as it can help you win gunfights much easier when used correctly. First is to peek people, as you can see here, so you can get the edge by jumping up. You have, not only do you have peeker's advantage, but you could also get information. This is a crucial move in search and destroy, as well as you can throw people off and get early picks, just like I'm about to show you here. Exhibit E. Okay. Best video settings. Graphics quality. For my personal video settings, I play on the lowest possible graphics settings. This is because it tends to give the most FPS, lowest input lag, and helps lessen the visual clutter associated with the maps in the game. I essentially run 1440p lowest settings. If you are running 1440p, use the lowest settings, but use DLSS performance or DLSS quality, as this can help massively boost clarity as well as FPS. If your PC is relatively powerful, use DLSS quality. If your PC is on the lower side, use DLSS performance. Also, before I move on, if you are playing 1080p, honestly, it is time to upgrade to 1440p or 4K if you are able to. My point is, please don't play 1080p in 2026. I used to swear by 1080p after going to 1440p, especially now when the refresh rates of 1440p are absurdly high. 1080p doesn't really make that much sense, especially in a game like Black Ops 7 where there is so much visual clutter. Best attachments. This section is not very long, but it is important. For attachments for MNK, the most important category, in my opinion, is the sight. You almost never want to rely on iron sights, as the visual recoil in this game can be very obstructing, preventing you from seeing and tracking your target properly. So for most guns, I would recommend running the ELO sight, EAM XL reflex sight, especially on guns like the dyac and M15. Perks. This section is extremely simple. For perks, what I would recommend is running 3 red perks: lightweight, scavenger, dexterity. And if you use perk greed, consider adding in looper, as it can be a great addition. The reason these 3 red perks are important is because you get the enforcer buff, which gives you a temporary boost to movement speed and healing when you kill someone. Honestly guys, if you have made it this far into the video, then you're honestly a real one. I don't normally do videos like this, but if you would like to see more, drop a like on the video, subscribe, and leave a comment, as it really does go a long way. This year I want to focus on content that could help the community, as well as improve myself and share the improvements that I have made and various tips and tricks that could also help you become a better player on MNK on COD. So if you really do want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comment section, and a subscribe and a like would go a long way. You don't have to do it, but it would be appreciated.